Oh boy. God help me this beautiful day. I don't know if my volume settings are very good. Testing. Mic check. Okay, let's kick off on Instagram. Good afternoon, Unmuzzled Chat warriors. Hope you're having a terrific day. As I get things queued up, let me just do a couple verifications because I've had technical issues today. I don't know what is going on. Welcome to Unmuzzled Chat. I'm so grateful for this day, an opportunity to share more breaking news. Before I dive into today's episode, I want you to know I'm going to be traveling for a funeral out of state. I leave really early tomorrow, and I'm not going to be back till later Sunday. And we'll see. We'll see what I'm able to do, if I'm able to produce any content while I'm gone. More than likely, I will be active on X and other platforms. You could simply go to the description below, follow Unmuzzled or James Geddes on Facebook, all these tyrannical platforms. I tell you, censorship they're unrelenting right now. There's no links, clearly, and that should be a big alarm for us. But I will be active on those other platforms, so just check the links below. I got some questions. Why are still so many topics that we try having on this very platform untouchable? Why do people react in the way they do when we try to share information on these topics? I feel we all should ask ourselves, what is this individual's intent when they're bringing information to our attention? Heck, why don't we actually address that very question to them directly in that moment? We're conversating after all. It's like, hey, sir, I'd like to know your intentions, or brother, sister, whoever it may be. Because if in fact their intention is out of love, if it's, I find that this information is important, let's say to your health, to your loved ones, or for our freedoms, for our country, well, why at that point would we not be excited to hear them out? Try to absorb the information. Maybe they know something we don't. Imagine for a second if in fact the info they brought to us was accurate. Would that not be a gift? Would we then support that cause, or let it go in one ear and out the other? We're very flawed beings. I came up with these questions. I kind of went through them rehearsed them to myself, and I was like, I could see at different stages where I was walking in that ignorance to my own detriment. We're all guilty. We need to let go somehow, shape, or form of the think we know it all, the know-it-all syndrome. Ignorance. It's crazy. Let's bring up another thought here. Why do guests on this very podcast, we had Glenn on just the other day, we've had David, even myself, why is it we have felt impressed in covering some of these topics to let everyone know that we are not suicidal? The why in this question is very important. In a huge way, the fact men, women bringing these topics forward, this information forward, are saying things like this should really alarm us. It actually brings validity in my mind, a level of importance. Like, I can't ignore that information. This individual is stating that not just, they're either whack and they're throwing it out there, but they're not, because they've seen other people bring this forward, many individuals, and they're no longer with us. Some got ruled up a suicide and there were 2 bullet holes coming from, like, they couldn't even perform the suicide themselves. They got shot in the back. So it's clear what's going on. In stating that, think of the importance on, let's just say, 2 sides. The importance on that individual. What benefit do they have to gain other than just painting a big target on their back and sharing this information? But they're so convicted. I've never seen this type of love or any other. What other examples of love could we actually go over that would be more powerful than individuals willing to die for others? That's the ultimate sacrifice right there. So think on the other side. There's clearly a level of importance to other individuals on stopping this information from getting out by any means necessary. And the very root of that and the fruits of that is very clear. It's evil. It's damning. It's bad. Could this actually be one of the leading causes as to why folks are not willing to touch these topics? Fear of man? I'm sure for some, yeah. Or fear of losing their job, or fear of, creating discord among family and friends. We're not to fear man. But I'm sure it's a little bit that. I feel personally it's more so a personal thing for individuals. Folks do not want to stand out in that type of way, whether it be the workplace or with their family or their circles. They do not want these false labels, and they're false labels. I'm just trying to bring up thoughts and provoke thoughts that will have us really sit and ponder, like, what is keeping me from doing this and that? Now, it is important in the situations to be able to read the room, and more important than really, and this is where I've stepped in it many, many times myself, more so than just trying to jam information down when they're not receptive or it's just not an appropriate environment. It's led me to, I need the fruit of the Spirit. I need to know when it's appropriate. I need to be able to acknowledge and follow the promptings. It's all easier said than done. Is there truth to the saying? And this is kind of my words, but I've heard it time and time again, and it's biblically written, something along the lines of, if we are in fact living in comfort, are we living or not living as we should? Jesus tells us that his believers, his followers, will face persecution in this existence. So we could even transition that into kind of the questions on today's episode, like, freedom, is freedom free? No, we know it's not free. So on personal levels, is this what could be leading to our freedoms getting flushed down the toilet? It's interesting. Evil only has the power we allow it to have in this life. And we've given it up, probably just due to the comforts, due to things getting as good as it has. But it does bring up the question, has evil resorted to ways to diminish us and our abilities in such a way that we're losing these abilities? I believe with the information we're going to go over on this very episode, pretty profoundly answers that very question. So with that being said, let's pull up some information here. Now, I'm never going to grow tired of these clips till the narrative shifts. We've played this before. We're going to continue to play it, but it's very powerful because within 1 minute, it really sums up something powerful here. Within one other minute, really powerful here. But then we're going to go into this breaking news, more details on the momentum that is being gained over in Florida. So let's play this clip. I just want to provide tools that we can maybe consider sharing in these interactions we have. And this is a powerful one.
Now, the world today has 6.8 billion people. That's headed up to about 9 billion. Now, if we do a really great job on new vaccines, healthcare, reproductive health services, we could lower that by perhaps 10 or 15%.
Well, common sense would tell you if you have a man standing in front of you saying he's going to reduce the world's population by 10 or 15% using vaccines, what does that mean to you? It means somebody's going to die because you put a vaccine in them. It doesn't mean you're going to save people. That's pretty much common sense in my brain.
Right.
But yet I saw him say it. He said it. And here we are. I don't know. I'm just, here we are. I'm now an anti-vaxxer. I wasn't before.
Now, the world today has...
Very, very powerful. I'm just going to let his words resound in our minds, not cloud it. We have Dr. McCullough here in another under a minute, really profoundly laid out. Now there's a whole multitude of doctors taking this stance. So many of them, once again, are taking that, throwing that, hey, I'm not suicidal out there on their personal platforms as well. Why is that? The why is so crucial.
I have never seen something so injurious to the human body. It invades the brain. It invades the heart. It causes brain and heart damage. It invades the bone marrow. It stimulates antibodies to actually start to attack our own platelets and our other cells in our body. It causes blood clotting and damage to blood vessels like we've never seen. Data from University of Pittsburgh suggesting it causes cancer. Since when do we have a protein that actually injures the brain, injures the heart, the bone marrow, the immune system, causes blood clotting, and potentially causes cancer in a single protein? It's a weapon. In fact, there are 3 papers, one by Farkas, published in Military Medicine, and 2 by Yen, published in preprint. They've actually concluded it is a bioweapon. It is a bioweapon. According to strict military criteria, it's a bioweapon.
It's interesting. Could it be that it's been so effective in diminishing our abilities? That is one of the leading causes as to why we aren't switching the narrative to the truthful one versus the propagandist one. Is that what's hindering us? Is that what's triggered individuals? Help us get to the bottom of that why, so we can kind of address that in ways to build people back up and not be lost in the propaganda to our detriment. Truth really does set us free. It's really hard to hone in on truth in this flawed mortal existence. And golly, so much of the programming, so much of this world we live in today is there's just so much lies and deceit through our education systems, through books, through historical. I mean, it is clear to me that history doesn't necessarily end up being written by the victors. It ends up being written by those with the means in that moment in time. So it's a healthy stance to just kind of challenge everything we've been spoon-fed, even in religions. I'm so grateful for Glenn and for Joshua to take the time, bear their testimony, share their light. And Joshua very profoundly kind of summed up this disconnect with his marriage. How there was tension, there were these issues, and his wife was so bold in her faith, was walking in this light that Joshua admits he didn't quite understand. And his wife profoundly, it gave me goosebumps, profoundly stated, Joshua, you know of religion, but I know Jesus. And Joshua just explains as to how that just crushed him. There was anger, there were all these things, but it strung such a truth within him that he couldn't fight back that truth bomb and that stance she took. And it profoundly from there set him on a whole different path to his benefit, not his detriment. The know-it-all, the knowing of Christ, but not personally knowing Christ. I've been there. We've all been there. We might still be in there. I'm still there in ways. This is a forever work. It's through submission. It's through handing things over have led to gifts. It's not even my personal breakthroughs. It's gifted. There's like a leveling up I didn't even deserve, but through submitting was just gifted. I don't know how else to put it. You know, right before we pop into this is very powerful information. Doctors are bringing forward. I'm just so elated and happy to see this momentum that can we get behind this momentum to our benefit in this moment? Are we going to allow our own busyness? We know freedom isn't free. It's like, why are too many of us not willing to sacrifice even in some of the smallest ways? It's interesting. All right, so in today's, let's see, cover image, freedom isn't free, Galatians 5:1-13. I'm telling you, versus me reading it or even picking out a few of the scriptures, I mean, you'll absorb it on a whole other level if you pull out the Bible yourself or pull out a Bible app, take a moment, clear your mind, read it for yourself, seek that understanding yourself. It will hit on other levels. And this chapter is very short and it's worth the time, I'm telling you. We'll pick out a couple here. So the very first one, it says, so Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and you don't get tied up again in slavery to the law. There's so many layers to that even. And Christ is stating, we have a responsibility to maintain this freedom. We've divvied that up. And I do believe with what we're going to cover, what the doctor and Stu discuss here, uncovers a layer of the diminishing to our abilities to even grasp the importance here. If we jump over to verse, let's see, is it 13? Oh boy, what happened? I just jumped a whole other chapter ahead. I apologize. Let's get through. Okay. Everything in between is worth your time. And there's other examples used that we can apply to everything taking place before us. But verse 13 reads, "For you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this command." One command: love your neighbor as yourself. This is just so good. I want to just go through it all, but I want to leave it to you. But it's just so powerful. It's really hard to stop, to be honest, because I could read it time and time again and continually take more from it, aka why it is the living word. Okay, it's interesting. All right, so in today's, let's play this clip. These men are challenging themselves and these narratives at great sacrifice. They're willing, they see it. They're showing up and paying that sacrifice. It's very minimal when people are on the front lines for us to challenge ourselves in loving ways. That's why that chapter is just so powerful. Maybe we'll go through it here in the end of the episode if you want to stick around for that. I'll consider that. But for now, let's hear what they have to say.
We are now nearly 5 years removed from the very beginning of the COVID scamdemic.
5 years.
When people were locked down in their homes, they were forced to wear Sharia, bacteria-ridden, oxygen-inhibiting face muzzles, when they were required to stay an arbitrary 6 feet apart from their kids and their loved ones, when people were thrown into jail and brutalized by authoritarian big pharma-backed thugs for not being panicked enough, for not giving up their civil liberties in exchange for safety from a virus that no one has ever proved even existed.
Ooh, we could actually exit full. There we go. The PCR testing. I mean, Janet in the fall of the cabal, another individual that was prematurely taken from us, has gifted us with such beautiful examples as to how defective the PCR testing it was. Literally conjuring up a whole unicorn, and even the inventor, it brought all the information forward. If you haven't seen the fall of the cabal, I definitely recommend you check out everything we covered. If you want to hear it directly from her, just utilize the links below. There was the fallcabal.com, and it has all the episodes right in there, and it's very user friendly. But it proves that it hasn't even been isolated in the wild. So don't do your research before we subject ourselves to any of their tests or anything. It's a fictional narrative. Anyone even says COVID, I had COVID. It's like, hey, could you define COVID when the testing itself had negative efficacy and it hasn't been isolated in the wild? I get the fluoride stare. They don't get it. They're so programmed with the propaganda, but we really hone in on these truths. The veil gets lifted. It's to our benefit.
But of course, the scamdemic didn't stop there. As we all know, it led to the release of these clot shots.
Right.
The mRNA-riddled bioweapon death jabs that have killed and injured what's truly a countless number of people, not just here in the United States, but all over the world. And while the powers that be want us to forget about what they did to us, what they're still doing to us, we just can't do that. We won't do that because people are still dying. People are still being hurt. People are still being attacked with biological super weapons right now. And now in Florida, a massive lawsuit has been filed once and for all to stop these death clot shots, to end the distribution of these injections, which still, after all, we've learned are being shoved into the arms of American citizens, and now their backers are doubling down.
We know the writing's on the wall, the information's getting flooded out, and we're not shifting the paradigm, let's say, fast enough for people to accept this information. It's too controversial. It's too polarized. It's too many things. And it's just like, at the end of the day, the unmanipulated data. I mean, they're having to slowly admit NIH, all Pfizer, to an extent, all these individuals that ran on a safe and effective narrative, they're slowly having to admit the harm. The whole intent here is gaining an outcome that leads to more health, that leads hopefully us to gaining the abilities back to acknowledge freedom isn't free and willing to sacrifice in our lives whatever it takes to maintain that freedom. It's the only thing that matters really in this existence, other than, but well, then we maintain the freedom to more so figure out why we are here. Without the freedom, we kind of lose that opportunity.
We're seeing people like Donald Trump once again join hands with the likes of Anthony Fauci to say that these jabs and Operation Warp Speed were among the greatest achievements in human history. They don't just want you to give them a free pass. They want you to congratulate them. They want you to give them a pat on the back. But that's not going to happen. Instead, we're going right for the jugular. And the lawsuit that I just mentioned does exactly that. A press release announcing the lawsuit reads, quote, on December 1st, 2024, psychotherapist Dr. Joseph Sansone filed a new case in the Second Judicial Circuit and for Leon County, Florida, seeking an injunction to prohibit Governor DeSantis and Attorney General Ashley Moody from allowing the continued distribution of mRNA nanoparticle injections because they are biological and technological weapons of mass destruction, end quote. In the same release, Dr. Sansone said, quote, it's time to mount up and ride to the sound of the guns. You are not in this fight. Get in it. It's time that Governor DeSantis listens to the Florida Department of Health and prohibit these mRNA nanoparticle injections in the state of Florida. Each time someone gets an mRNA nanoparticle injection, there is a danger of harming others through the shedding of this technology. We are informed, and we do not give our consent.
These are experts talking about this. There's nothing conspiratorial about it. The shedding is extremely harmful for all of us that didn't even get it. I'm dreadful to be hopping in an airplane and come back. But, you know, so much to unpack on my personal healing journey. It's interesting, once again, as to how I've personally been more so gravitating towards doctors through mortal healers, when look at Christ and the healing he provided. Look at all the miracles. There's miracles in our own lives. Joshua has miracle after miracle. As like that moment with his wife happened at the perfect time to set him up to rely on Jesus, heal him from a traumatic brain injury, heal him in beautiful ways. I mean, he's still paralyzed from the waist down. He's wheelchair bound, but the peace, the enlightenment, the joy, and inspiration that man has to give. He entirely crushed my violin in a very humbling, beautiful way. And it's interesting how I've been chasing. It's important we take care of our bodies here and we gain knowledge and this and that, but I was relying on that more than the spiritual side. The spiritual side of this existence is becoming way more real the more I tap into it than even this mortal existence. We're talking about something eternal, not this fleeting mortal existence we get consumed in. It's pretty powerful stuff, and I have a hard time neurologically putting it into words. It's a tough thing to do and express. I know for a lot it could be woo-woo till they more so they're able to see and acknowledge in the lives around them and personally the power of our loving Creator and our Savior Jesus Christ. It's undeniable.
End quote. We do not give our consent. That's right. We don't. This clot shot is demonstrably murderous, demonstrably genocidal. And that's the basis for this lawsuit. We have major American hospital systems like New York Presbyterian running commercials on television where they advertise treatments for pediatric heart disease that didn't ever exist before these shots came out.
Right.
In those who took it and those who were coerced into rolling up their sleeves and being raped by a weapon of mass destruction, there's been a 112,000% increase in brain strokes.
1,000.
There's been a more than 1,236% increase in heart attacks. In the state of Florida alone, since the jab was released on page 44 of this complaint, there have been over 15,000 excess deaths from sudden kidney failure alone. This biological weapon can kill you a million ways from Sunday, all by design. These are the facts.
The facts.
This is cold, hard data. And as the science types like to tell us over and over again, data doesn't lie. Data doesn't have an opinion. It's just the facts. It's what's really going on.
They hid it from us.
And what's really going on here is a genocide the likes of which the world has never before seen. So this isn't just some kind of frivolous court filing like we see in corporate media headlines oh so often when some queer or some wants to sue their landlord for not letting them host an orgy in their living room. No, this is the real deal. This is a lawsuit that punches the bioweapon murderers right in the face. This is an 80-page court filing, and it includes more than 50 pages of affidavits from medical doctors, from bioweapon experts, and from others who are confirming that we, the people, are under an attack. That this COVID scamdemic mRNA clot shot is in fact a weapon of biological warfare, a weapon of mass destruction, and a weapon of mass extermination that has been used to kill millions of people, injure millions of people, and turn millions more into ticking time bombs whose hearts could explode at any given minute. And of course, it's not just the people who submitted to the jab who have been affected, it's anyone that they come into contact with, because these bioweapons don't just stay confined to the human body, they shed. They affect other people. They're a transmittable form of poison. And even if you resisted the jab, even if you didn't give in, even if you're spending any time around a bunch of jabbers, there's a very good chance that this poison has shed and entered into your body. Listen to this. This is an excerpt from the lawsuit, which explains how these poisons are spreading from person to person with no needles involved. Quote, the COVID-19 injections are biological and technological weapons of mass destruction. Self-assembly nanotechnology has been found in the injections and subsequently in human blood, initially the vaccinated, later the unvaccinated, as well from shedding. End quote.
It's in the suit.
These shots were designed to kill as many people as possible, whether they submitted to the jab or they didn't. There is absolutely no world in which these shots were anything other than a genocidal rampage. And of course, the people who are responsible for these shots, they want you to forget about all of it. They want to forgive and forget and go back to living life as usual until the next time they decide to roll out one of these concoctions and kill even more people than they already have. And while many people seem to have just given up and just decided, let's let these criminals, let's let these killers just walk free, we haven't, and neither have some others. Like Dr. Joseph Sansone and his partners who've stuck their necks out on the line for the rest of humanity in filing this lawsuit, and others like it. They refuse to give up. They refuse to quit. It's an uphill fight, of course. Mm-hmm. But we have the tools, and we have a judicial system, and it's time that we do it, because we can never give up. The people behind this genocide deserve maximum accountability, extreme accountability for what they have done, and we're not going to just let them slide. And that includes Donald Trump, and that includes Ron DeSantis.
Now, I know some people don't want to hear that right now. What other man throughout history gained such a position that actually seems to listen to we the people? He's a man at the end of the day. We're all flawed. I'm not here to cast stones. What is important is that we land on the opportunities we have and finding the paths that will lead to health. So if there's some accountability. If he's messed up, whether unintentional, whether he was following bad counsel, I mean, at this point, there's no way he can. I don't know how he wouldn't be coming across the floodgates that have opened and how damning this has become. I mean, he brought RFK in. RFK's fronting this battle, so that's promising. But it's important that we resolve and land on what is going to breathe light. That's what's important. Whatever it takes. It's going to breathe health back into our lives. And if there's a level of accountability that falls on Trump's shoulders, then yeah, we're to get this resolved. That's what's important. Clearly, there's other individuals that were more complicit in all of this, in my eyes, than he. But that's where we're to demand full transparency. These are public officials at the end of the day. What's public about them? We're private citizens. Yet, what's private about us? It's all backwards. Let's gain the transparency we need to get to the bottom of it so we can ensure and secure our health and our futures.
And for more on this, we're now joined by the man behind the lawsuit, someone who we're proud to call a friend of this program and of myself personally. That's Dr. Joseph Sansone. Doc, thank you so much for being here. We certainly appreciate having you.
Thanks for having me on, Stu. I couldn't disagree with a word you said there. It's time for people to get involved if they haven't been involved yet. Look, you're right. It's an uphill battle. It always is. But we need more cases to start popping up everywhere, not just this case, but there need to be other cases in Florida and other cases in other states.
Yes.
What sets this case a little bit apart is I did have triple bypass heart surgery in April of 2023, and I am arguing that is a result of the shedding of the technology. So I had no prior heart condition. And, that will be hard to prove. However, I think if we can establish the shedding is real, which the evidence supports, that's going to certainly help the argument that they should be taken off the market because there's an imminent threat of future harm for myself. So, and I'm specifically hitting that to address standing because that's what they're going to try to say you don't have standing. And I'm also hitting it from the constitutional and public health side of it with standing. That in Florida, when your constitutional rights are being violated, in this case, basic rights enunciated in our Florida Constitution, that's an issue where they should grant standing. And so I just want to put that out there, which sets this case a little bit apart. And so what we've done is I filed for an injunction to prohibit the distribution of the shots because they're biological weapons, according to Florida Statute 790.166, talking about our fraud law as well as our informed consent law that are being violated. And I'm also asking for declaratory judgment. So in case that the court does not grant the injunction, maybe they don't want to get that coercive with the executive branch, they could still do declaratory judgments, which would have a very similar effect. Because if the court says, yes, these violate 790.166, weapons of mass destruction, it'd be really hard for the executive branch not to act. Or
well, there's certainly a whole lot more than your surgery that you had and heart issues that you're having. Mm-hmm. We only have a short period of time, so I want to get through some of this.
Absolutely.
There's affidavits here from Avery Brinkley, who is a medical doctor in Florida. In part, he said, I'm a board-certified diagnostic radiologist who, having semi-retired in 2014 after 34 years of medical practice, have followed every aspect of the SARS-CoV-19 response with focus on suppression of early treatments by federal agencies, media, hospitals, CMS death protocols, and the COVID shots, which do not prevent infection or transmission of infection, and therefore are only not vaccines by accepted definitions, but are in fact gene-altering agents, which fit the definition of a bioweapon in accordance with state and federal statutes. I mean, there are...
Guys, it's all there. Expert after expert after expert. I mean, you can look at the actual real life situations. So, real people and their experiences. This more so connects the MMR shot to autism in Vax 1. And it shows a lot of the corruption, the incentivization to pharmaceutical companies and what, like, this doesn't fully expose hidden agendas. The fall of the cabal does, and shows the infrastructure in these individuals causing, it's so clear. It's so clear through the fall of the cabal. So it's just what is it? It's like the Matrix. It's like that one individual wanting to get plugged back in, even after knowing, because ignorance is bliss. What a coward. What weakness. What selfishness. You'd rather believe a convenient lie over inconvenient truth. Vax 2 really dives into the whole childhood vaccine schedule. Parent after parent after parent. lost child after lost child. The intent is because I don't want you or your loved ones to experience this life on the level they have. A lot of individuals through flu shots, through the COVID shot, everything, like just the negative impacts it's had. Vax 3 not only goes after like exposing the horrific COVID crimes and the actual vaccine bioweapon and how it's harmed so many, but the murderous hospital protocols. I get it's an inconvenient truth. It's difficult, but ignorance in this life is not blissful. It's just not. And I do believe evil, this is an effective way to beat us down, demoralize us, have us, at the point we're so engulfed in the pain in our bodies, the neurological dysfunction, the lethargic brain fog kind of state more and more of us experience, it seems, every day. We're just engulfed in that versus fulfilling our obligations to maintain freedom, fulfill what's laid out in the Bible itself and why we're here. It is really hard to wrap your mind around and come to terms with how evil doesn't fight fair. What lengths evil is willing to go to. And I get for someone that hasn't done research, it's just so convenient. It's so easy to just wrap it up like, no, that's all conspiratorial. It cannot be that well infiltrated in our government, our health organizations, all these things we've been programmed to blindly entrust for far too long. Well, let's humble ourselves and take a step back. It's like we're just in this bleep in time. Evil's been here since Adam and Eve. How is it we just blindly entrust in those? Like, it would be very ignorant for us to step back and not question or see, especially when it's so in our face, that come to terms with the reality that, yes, unfortunately, in fact, evil has been that effective. It's so easy for us even, like, let's just say, folks that already believe the Bible's true, claim Christian, believe in Jesus Christ. It's still easy for us, and I'm 100% guilty, and I'm trying to rule that out, where even in that, we get too caught up in this existence. We end up like Peter, willing to die by the sword against our oppressors, but not willing to follow in Jesus' footsteps and love our neighbors as we love ourselves. It's all new, kind of slowly getting absorbed, slowly the veil lifting and more understanding on my end. I'm not speaking as though I know. It's just really, it's such a beautiful path, and it's such a blessing. It's such a gift because there's peace and joy and purpose and meaning, all these beautiful things. It was right there in Galatians, or Colossians, that's what it's called, I believe. Yeah. I'm going to back out. I don't want to mess that up. No, it's Galatians 5:1-13. Read that. It's all right there. Don't take my word for it. All right, let's wrap this up.
Affidavits from Andrew Zewick, I'm probably mispronouncing this, but quote, I believe the COVID-19 injections and all mRNA injections are biological and technological weapons designed to harm. This is an MD, a medical doctor, certified tribal practitioner. His professional experience and his resume is all in here as part of this lawsuit and these filings, and they are immense. Before me, undersigned person, duly on blah, blah, blah. Okay, here we go. Here it is. I have educated tens of thousands of doctors and millions of patients worldwide across the topics of men's health, women's reproductive health, infectious diseases, autoimmune disease, pediatric health, neuroplasticity, and other health care areas through training seminars and production. This person had startups as well as venture capital firms, including providing consults to Johnson & Johnson Development Corporation, firsthand knowledge of how FDA drugs, biologics, and devices go from being patented molecule or device through animal trials to human clinical trials to full FDA approval, authorization, and clearance.
It's all there.
Also
That's
saying,
Karen Kingston. She's a pharmaceutical expert.
Yes.
Dr. Rima Leibrow, a psychiatrist, she actually predicted the attack of the vaccines back in 2009. She's another medical doctor who's saying it's a bioweapon and actually part of the larger depopulation program. Dr. Anna Mahalcha, who's one of the leading researchers on this technology, is saying it's a bioweapon. Dr. Francis Boyle, the law professor that wrote the law.
Dr. Anna Mahalcha, here's her affidavit right here. I mean, she's saying that as an international research group of over 60 doctors, pharmacists, and other professionals examined COVID vaccines from 6 different manufacturers: AstraZeneca, BioNTech, Pfizer, Moderna, Johnson & Johnson, and some others. This group, known as the Working Group for COVID Vaccine Analysis, used scanning electron microscopy, energy dispersive X-ray spectroscopy, mass spectroscopy, and inductively coupled plasma analysis, bright field microscopy, dark field microscopy, live blood image diagnostics. The preliminary analysis found toxic substances in all of the samples of COVID-19 vaccines without exception. These findings are consistent with a 2017 study of 44 different childhood vaccines that were examined for contamination, and it talks about various toxic metal contaminants not declared by the manufacturer. None of this was ever disclosed to us. Lead, tungsten. The researchers concluded that adverse effects after the injection whose vaccines are possible and credible. I mean, this is insane. There are various different slides and graphs and microscopic images that are included in this petition, in this injunction, in this lawsuit that has now been filed. And the lawsuit clearly lists Governor Ron DeSantis in his official capacity as the governor of Florida, and the Honorable Ashley Moody in her official capacity as Attorney General for Florida.
Just to remind your viewers, I'm sure they know, but the Florida Department of Health has said that these are unsafe for human use and a threat to the human genome. And
Dr. Latipo said that. Yes.
Yeah. So this is it's not like I'm just throwing this out there. This is very
the Surgeon General for the state of Florida. The Surgeon General said that this is not suitable for humans to actually have. Why do these articles fail to question the ethics changing humans into machines? I mean, we're discussing transhumanism in this thing. We've all known that it's been gene altering. mRNA is DNA editing software, essentially, where we have microscopic imagery of actual self-aware living organisms inside of these things. That's not even mentioning the nanotechnology that's in it.
We've been baited like insects. The
patented pegylated lipid nanoparticle is actually patented as a weapon of biowarfare.
Yes, dual use capability, absolutely.
So where are we at in this process? I know, for one, this is going to need funding.
Yes.
Yeah, I just filed the case. I'm going to do the process, get the process servers this week and that kind of thing. And so literally just filed the case. So I filed it on Sunday, which was the first. So we're early in the process.
These people need more than our financial support. They need more of us to back these narratives. So the pharmaceutical individuals, everyone, whether it's financial gain, whether it's a position of tyrannical control that they are willing to keep, or just evil, like their hidden agenda on lowering the population to a manageable level for them to secure their positions of power once and for all. Like, that's literally what it's about. These freaking individuals view themselves playing God as though they're gods. It's just horrific. It's the path of Satan. It's laid out in the Bible, very clear. So even for these men's, like the men here's protection, it is crucial that we get behind so they can't meet the unfortunate demise of so many that have taken this stance. It's literally helping other men and individuals willing to get on the front lines to our benefit. We could do it selfishly. We could do it lovingly on behalf of those we love, because it's all threatened by these evil agendas.
Then I got to process serve them. They'll have time to respond. I expect that what they'll try to do is do a motion to dismiss and claim I don't have standing. But I think I have strong arguments to fight back on that. And then we'll take it from there. If I can overcome that hurdle, then it looks like it'll be game on. And then at that point, I probably will need quite a bit of funding. But I'm doing this pro se at this point. That could change in the future. But right now, I think it's really important for people to recognize that anybody can do this.
Are you doing it pro se simply because you don't have the funding for an attorney, or have you looked for an attorney, have the resources to retain an attorney, and no attorney is willing to take this case?
A little bit of both, because I know I don't have the funds for the attorney, but also I think attorneys are afraid of the bar and afraid of the judges. And so I'd like to get it going, and then I can always get in legal consultants if I need to. I think an attorney might be afraid to take this on at this point.
Yeah, well, that's not uncommon. We've seen a whole lot of that since the beginning of this murderous, genocidal, fake pandemic came about. Where, as I noted in my intro monologue to your appearance, that we've never even proved that this virus existed. Is that true in accordance to what you've learned in research?
The data that I put in there shows that the injections are harmful and deadly, that they not only have no effect, that there's a negative effect, and this you're more likely to get sick. So they don't work, and it appears that they create harm even on infection. So
one of the best things that I've seen in here, and I mean, this is a lot. So before your appearance and just learning of this, I haven't had time, obviously, to line for line read this entire filing. But one of the most interesting parts of this comes on page 39, where you say, Moderna admit their COVID-19 mRNA nanoparticle injections altered DNA. So does Pfizer. And here's a screenshot. mRNA technology is a good fit for gene editing. We want to make these editing proteins for just a short period of time to modify the genome, and producing the editing enzymes transiently helps to reduce the potential for off-target effects. That's a direct quote from Pfizer. Yeah, and I think I'm actually citing Karen Kingston's research on there. So yeah, no, that is a direct quote from them. They've said this in the past. So it's like their own data shows that these are not safe and not effective, and the whole time they've been saying they're safe and effective. And if you look at the Kansas versus Pfizer lawsuit, they clearly lay out how they conspired as early as 2020, in December of 2020, with HSS and Pfizer conspired to hide the deadly effects of these shots. So there is a criminal intent. Once you know this is deadly and you continue to push it and tell people it's safe and effective, that alone shows criminal intent in my mind. Here's more from Karen Kingston, and I've only got a minute left. Data collected from the U.S. Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the CDC, the FDA, as well as VAERS, the Vaccine Adverse Events Reporting System database from January 1st, 1990 to December 31st, 2023, showed that COVID-19 vaccines pose a 112,000% greater risk of brain clots and strokes than flu vaccines, and 20,700% greater risk of these symptoms than all other vaccines.
If it was just a few percent higher chance, why is that more tangible? Should we just say, oh, guaranteed it's 10, you're 10% more likely to face these issues, terminal issues, but 100,000? Yeah, we've been duped, a lot of us. That's where a great humbling is in order for us to properly acknowledge these threats we're faced with. We're getting in our own way, and we're the whys behind not having these discussions and why it isn't becoming, the truth isn't becoming the main narrative. It's happening, just seemingly not fast enough. And with the distribution of wealth and the actions we know of, I mean, God only knows what they're additionally doing behind closed doors, but they're trying to rule out consent entirely, which they did with this actual shot. Proper informed consent, which is infringed upon Nuremberg, all 10 items of the Nuremberg Code. It's just, my goodness, how are we so the fear, ramping up a fear, getting us in a that state, like we're just, it's not good. I had more things to touch on there. In these moments, I can't even properly articulate because I'm still having neurological difficulties myself. So if anything, by me stumbling, fumbling, not articulating, let this be an example, a live example to you all. Like, this is crucial. We lose our brain function. Evil does pretty much end up putting us in a place right where they want us.
Combined.
And that's a solid study with Dr. James Thorpe and Dr. Peter McCullough, some of the researchers on that study. So that's pretty solid research there. The evidence, I think, at this point is overwhelming. The thing that should happen is Governor DeSantis should simply stand up there on the stage with Surgeon General Ladapo, call a public health emergency under the public health law, and remove these injections off the market. They're deadly and dangerous and killing innocent people. You go to the pharmacies and they're pushing these on little kids. This is absolutely disgusting, despicable, and it's a crime.
Yeah. Well, for everything that you're doing, thank you. Dr. Joseph Sansone. If you're not following him, by the way, on Substack, if you haven't subscribed to his Substack, this is a tremendous article. There's links to this lawsuit in there. I think that everybody should be reading this lawsuit. So get over to Substack right now and find Dr. Joseph Sansone. This lawsuit is only just the very beginning step to going for extreme accountability. First, we have to stop these things. We will not forget. We're not going to give these people amnesty. More of the Stu Peters Show continues next.
Fellas, thank you. It is so painful to be in a position where I'm not claiming I'm smart. Anyone willing to humble themselves can see the veil's going to be lifted. And the more we rely on our loving Creator, He will reveal these things to as in, maybe not in the ways we would want, the ways we would have it, but it's going to happen nonetheless in the ways we need. At least that's how it's been for me. That's how I could testify. And I don't want it to be about me. It's just, what better way to express things than our own personal walks, and hope that lands in some way that brings the light and value and sense of urgency and importance to seek in that light and that truth for yourself. Look, I know that these topics, these conversation pieces are greatly challenging, and it's sad, in fact, to see all this suffering, all this darkness. But that being said, it is sheer beauty to see the light breaking through, to see warriors stand up like these men, like Glenn, like Joshua, like so many, the forgotten soldiers, and John and Scott, all these warriors. It's beautiful to see others consumed by darkness find the light. And it's happening. It would be great to see it happen faster, on a larger scale. It seems, that was the point I was kind of getting on that I lost earlier, because why are they creating, from what we know, why are they putting this in foods? They've been successful putting this mRNA, DNA changing substance, lettuce, tomatoes, tobacco products. What else have they been successful? Have they been successful including it into the chemtrails? Have they been successful in aerosolizing it in different means, or putting it in our water to where our bodies absorb it through that? They didn't give us consent, proper informed consent on the shots themselves. We could look at the distribution of wealth and power positions it's put them in, and there hasn't, even almost 5 years later, been proper accountability. Heck, us as a civilization haven't even fully grasped the true narrative as to what took place. So absolutely, these individuals are putting all that distribution of wealth towards other means. And it doesn't matter whether they're going to create wealth on the releasing of these things, because there's a hidden agenda, and that's clear. With all the things Pfizer and Moderna knew prior and withheld from us, it does show criminal intent. It's clear. Let's breathe some light and some excitement. Like, I am lucky, and there's just so many blessings that are coming in a spiritual form. Not so much in the mortal life sense, but in a huge way, I feel like I've been reborn. The things I thought that mattered here, well, they simply don't matter. And as challenging as this path has been, I feel a whole other level to this life I couldn't really see or understand before. And it feels so good. It feels right. It feels blessed. It is truly hard to put into words. All I know is it takes a lot of self-work and that great humbling of oneself, like challenging, once again, all the fakeness to this world, all the lies and all the deceit around us. I have acted as though I have known things because of school, books, religions, etc. But as I have been humbled and submitting more and more to our Father, our loving Creator, well, let's just say the acting has stopped. It's like to not be consumed entirely in the flesh as we're going through this existence is a great blessing. There was I have too many freaking notes over multiple episodes. There was, we're going to read through that chapter here in a bit. I feel like that's really important. But before we do, let's plug some of these warriors that were willing to come forward and put it all on the line to our behalf. The Man of Steel. If you haven't seen that episode, Joshua's a gift and a light to us all, a true inspiration to come to these powerful breakthroughs in his perception, the lens he views the world, or was gifted to him at this point by seeking. I mean, it just brings more clarity for us to the importance of seeking God. Why has evil effectively taken Bible out of schools, God out of schools, prayer out of schools? Let's make God popular again, because when you're faced these type of challenges with brain injuries and debilitations as a veteran in his deployment, I mean, check out that episode. Hear a story for yourself. It is very motivational, very inspirational, and everything he's on fire to do. We could gain great momentum tapping into what, like, these no doubt inspired movements they're creating, and they are going to lead to solutions for us all. So this is little, kind of a smaller sacrifices, if you will, we could get engaged in and show them our love, show them our support, throw them a few bucks, just whatever it takes to get behind John and Scott, the Forgotten Soldiers. So powerful. Glenn Baker, check out his music. I threw the links to all this in this very episode, folks. Support John. You can support Jonathan. I'm getting everyone mixed up here. John. Let's support Joshua Home and Glenn Baker by simply checking out this documentary. A cheap meal, $10.99. 50% of the proceeds will go to Joshua and an exoskeleton, upping the quality of his life, which is going to just light him on fire to do more for our veterans and secure our futures, but also the path Glenn is on. This is how we can help others help us. If you didn't see Glenn's episode, be sure to check that out. We knocked them both out yesterday. I'm sorry, I could feel, this was a realization I even had yesterday. We are such limited beings in this mortal existence. And it's like, there's a mental challenges that will drain our batteries faster than we recharge ourselves with sleep, recharge ourselves with nutrition and food, or we're at least supposed to, right? The majority of it isn't food anymore, but I digress. But you can feel it when you gear up for a test, when you do a public speaking event. There's mental challenges that drain your battery faster than just typical life, right? There's physical challenges that will drain your battery faster than your typical life, like climbing a mountain, right? You just feel this fatigue. And it hit me during Joshua's episode when we were, we did Glenn's, and then we were after chatting for about 45 minutes, and I was like, all right, we got to stop it here and let's kick off the live. And when I kick off the live, I could just feel my batteries were depleted. So there's a spiritual side that, yes, it creates excitement and a fire when I was on that just private chat with Joshua, but I realized morally, and maybe you could kind of relate, but when you're tapped into that light and that spiritual, it can mortally drain your batteries as much as it charges them. In a way, it's kind of weird, but we have our limitations, and that drained my battery quite faster than let's just say hiking a mountain and doing a test at the same time, if it's possible. But it's such a gift to tap into that. It just becomes so clear how important it is. So let's help their cause, and that's a way of us helping ourselves in a way. Okay, so Galatians. I gotta go back, take a look. I apologize. I should have wrote this down. It's 5, 1 through 13. Now I know it uses an example such as circumcision, but with this example, that it's like Jesus used so many parables that mortally will be stuck on the track of what he's saying, but that more so is applied. It's using a circumstance, in this circumcision, to bring light to other things in this life. And that's where we read this chapter today and then challenge ourselves to read it back tomorrow. It's gonna hit us on a different level. So this is Galatians 5, freedom in Christ. Verse 1, let's just go through this. It says, so Christ has truly set us free. Now make sure that you stay free and don't get tied up again in slavery to the law. We are up against that in this very moment. It says, listen, I, Paul, tell you this. If you are counting on circumcision to make you right. Oh, gotta skip there. With God, then Christ will be of no benefit to you. I say it again. If you are trying to find favor with God by being circumcised, you must obey every regulation and the whole law of Moses. For if you are trying to make yourself right with God by keeping the law, you have been cut off from Christ. You have fallen away from God's grace. The very sacrifice, the very purpose, the very freedom he gave. It was like Christ's apostles didn't quite get it. They thought he was coming to be a king, rule as a king in the flesh on this world, face their oppressors. But no, he freed us in a whole different sense. So in a way, it's not of works, but we do have responsibility here. But if we work on the relationship, he paves the way. We're to live selflessly and help out others in such a way it would just naturally fix all these issues, versus just like I previously had been on a path just wielding the sword trying to fight the oppressors. It's hard to articulate, really. But it continues. But we who live by the Spirit eagerly wait to receive by faith the righteousness of God. The righteousness God has promised to us. For when we place our faith in Jesus, there is no benefit in being circumcised or being uncircumcised. What is important is faith expressing itself in love. You were running the race so well. Who has held you back from following the truth? It certainly isn't God, for he is the one who called you to freedom. This false teaching is like a little yeast that spreads through the whole batch of dough. I am trusting the Lord to keep you from believing false teachings. God will judge that person, whoever he is, who has been confusing you. I know this is painful. I'm so bad at even just reading to myself. It's a little easier. It's a little better when I just read in my mind and I go through it. When I even read out loud to myself, it's more challenging. You add it to a live show, adds another layer of challenge. But I relish in the opportunity. But don't let my stumbling through this deter you. Take the moment and read it for yourself. But I'll continue to challenge myself for now. Dear brothers and sisters, if I were still preaching that you must be circumcised and some say I do, why am I being persecuted? If I were no longer preaching salvation through the cross of Christ, no one would be offended. Wow. I just wish that those troublemakers who want to mutilate you by circumcision would mutilate themselves. This is powerful. With the word mutilation, a lot of other current things come to mind, doesn't it? Interesting. Kind of exposing a lot of evil movements that are not out of love, as we've proven, because once an individual steps out of that narrative, they shun them, they demonize them, they tear them down. It's not loving. For you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. Instead, use your freedom to serve one another in love. For the whole law can be summed up in this one command: love your neighbor as yourself. But if you are always biting and devouring one another, watch out. Beware of destroying one another. I came off very aggressive throughout this first year on this podcast. I'm so grateful for the humbling and the shift that has taken place, because there's more joy, there's more excitement, there's more peace, and going about things in a different way. And I hope this sinks in more and more as I fight tooth and nail to stay on this path. So I say, let the Holy Spirit guide your lives. Then you won't be doing what your sinful nature craves. The sinful nature wants to do evil, which is just the opposite of what the Spirit wants. And the Spirit gives us desires that are the opposite of what the sinful nature desires. These two forces are constantly, almost same difference, but constantly fighting each other. It's like the two wolves inside. Which one are you going to feed? So you are not free to carry out your good intentions. But when you are directed by the Spirit, you are not under obligation to the law of Moses. When you follow the desires of your sinful nature, the results are very clear. Sexual immorality, impurity, lustful pleasures, adultery, sorcery, hostility, quarreling, jealous, outbursts of anger, selfish ambition, dissension, division, envy, drunkenness, wild parties, and other sins like these. Let me tell you again, as I have before, that anyone living that sort of life will not inherit the kingdom of God. But the Holy Spirit produces this kind of fruit in our lives: love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. There is no law against these things. Those who belong to Christ Jesus have nailed the passions and desires of their sinful nature to his cross and crucified them there. Since we are living by the Spirit, let us follow the Spirit's leading in every part of our lives. Let us not become conceited or provoke one another or be jealous of one another. It hit me in a whole other level just that time versus how I got caught up in that chapter before the episode. I was just looking for good cover images. And look, it led to such beauty to resort to this roadmap for us more and more in this life is just going to lead to more and more breakthroughs on that humbling and reliance and true faith, a true relation, knowing Jesus, not knowing of Jesus, but intimately knowing Jesus. Oh, it's so cool. I know it's not going to be an easy path to stay on, but I'm going to fight with freaking everything I got to stay on that path. And when even a pure path presents itself, I want to give more and more submission to our loving Creator to hopefully in that moment be able to identify this other path. And it's leading to more pure selflessness, I believe, in this existence than the sinful nature of this world of selfishness. I love you guys. I'm going to miss you. Got a funeral to attend to. I'm not going to be back till later Sunday. I don't know if I'll have any content coming out Sunday or if in fact it will be Monday. I'll see what I could do to stay active on X and posting reels on other social media platforms. So for the time being, why don't you check out in the description below, follow Unmuzzled Chat or James Geddes on all these different platforms, and I'll see you over there. But I can't wait. I can't wait to be back in the studio and diving into all of this. I hope this is brightening your day. I mean, well, shout out to Lucas on send me the link of Stu Peters. I do find that that is a great threat in this mortal existence, that evil's trying to take our ability to maintain freedom, which is crucial to stay free in order to make these very connections in this existence that are only going to lead to a beautiful experience in this life, no matter what challenges we are faced with. I'm grateful for Lyme in this moment. I am. I'm grateful for all the challenges this mortal life has thrown at me that has led me to this relationship. For too long, I personally had my priorities in this existence all out of whack. Relationships seem to be, at times, the greatest challenges in this existence. Well, because relationships were above my relation with our loving Creator. When our loving Creator became the top, personal relations even dropped down quite far down the list. Because there was the spiritual battle, like there's God at the top, Jesus at the top, the spiritual battle, close second, or, you know, it's hard to go through. I didn't pre-write it out and really consider and ponder and think about it, but let's just say relations drop way down the list. It's even more important to maintain like health, take care of this temple so I then could show up in the relations. Because if we are sickly and our immune system's gone, there's inflammation throughout the body, then we're going to be more triggered. Our relations are going to suffer. So I must even make that a priority over the relations. So if in fact, like, there's a gathering, but I know my body needs rest, I know, like, I gotta maintain what it takes to not, that isn't going to lead to, let's say, damage in my relations because I didn't do things right. Anyway, a lot of things to consider, a lot of things. It isn't easy doing self work. We want to be right. What is that? Pride, ego, sinful nature of this life. I love y'all. Check out our affiliations. If you feel like throwing a few bucks to magnify, to even ensure I can continue on this path, Because at some point, I mean, I am entrusting in God. God's going to make it work out. But there is a sick part of this existence that it does take X amount of money to continue to have food on the table or roof over the head. But it would be amazing to get to a place of abundance where it's very minimal. I don't need anything in this life. Just enough to keep food and a roof over the head. That's it. And then it would be great to be in a place of abundance where we could kick off more things to help others. Check out Glenn's documentary. Let's pass it around. He really brings it home in the end. And what's important amongst shining the light on so much in a very tasteful way. We could share that with our family. We could sit down over the holidays and enjoy that film together. Until next time, take care. May our loving Creator be with you. God bless.